Republicans have engaged in one of the greatest self-owns in political history. Let's start at the beginning. It starts with Ron DeSantis in Florida. Now, Ron DeSantis had to run on, just handed to him. Florida schools are rated some of the best in the country. Yeah, I mean, I know it seems counterintuitive. It's kind of a shock because, all the jokes we make about Florida man and all the stupidity that comes out of Florida. But really, their schools are really legitimately have been rated some of the best in the country. But they've been facing a teacher crisis, just like the rest of the country, but it's supercharged in Florida because of Ron DeSantis. See, Ron had this wonderful issue. All he had to do was leave the schools alone and maybe help them recruit some teachers. And he had a perfect platform to run on when he ran for president. But he didn't do that. Instead, he's destroyed those schools and fired the people and driven off the people that made them the best in the country. It's crazy. It's crazy. Why would he do that? Think about it, folks. They have attacked the school boards. They have attacked the administrators. They have threatened to charge teachers with felonies in the middle of a teacher crisis. He's not going out and looking for good teachers, good qualified teachers. He's actually attacking teachers. Why would you do that? Well, follow the money. See, Ron DeSantis likes charter schools, like Republicans have been trying to force on us forever. Well, charter schools don't sell that well when you have some of the best public schools in the country. Why would you want to take your kid out of a really good performing school? Answer, make them poor performing schools. Yeah, I mean, destroy your own school districts and you can push charter schools. Why? Why would you do that? And why would you risk parents being pissed off at you? Well, he didn't have to risk parents being pissed off at him. See, he's got this thing. Ron DeSantis has never had an original thought in his life. But he's got a guy. The guy that's got his hand shoved up his butt and pulling Ron DeSantis' puppet string. Well, he knows Republicans. He does. And he has taken and politicized schools. In fact, in an interview, this guy, his name is Christopher Rufo, in an interview with the New Yorker, actually said his objective is to politicize bureaucracies, in this case, schools. Why? Well, if you politicize it, people stop caring about facts. If you politicize it, his people to own the libs and their R cultism will allow them to do anything. And that's exactly what they did. All that fictional CRT stuff you keep scratching your head, why are they saying this? Why would they say blatantly false things you could easily Google? Well, they know nobody on their side's going to Google it because they politicized it. This anti-woke stuff? Yeah, it all came out of Christopher Rufo. And who's Christopher Rufo? Well, he's a fellow with the Manhattan Institute. He writes for their paper, the City Journal. Yeah, I mean, he's with the Manhattan Institute. That's who he is. Other than the guy with his hand shoved up DeSantis' butt pulling his puppet string, he is with the Manhattan Institute. And before we get to all of that, let's talk about the charter schools they want to push on you. Well, since we started doing the whole charter school thing in Florida, 42% of charter schools have failed. 42% have failed. And academically, despite what the people that push charter schools say, they don't do any better than public schools. So how would you get people to allow you to push charter schools in your state? And why? Who wants these charter schools? Who invests in charter schools is the big question. Well, we know the politicization will allow them to control the parents. They will destroy their own schools over politics. They will. But just to put the cherry on top, you push propaganda that tells these same people that are, in the Republican Party, that consider themselves Republicans, that are always the victims, that they are the victims. And as Christopher Rufo called it, CRT is the best villain because none of them know what it is. You politicize it, they're just going to accept what these people on the right tell them. And they tell them that CRT victimizes them. Wokeness victimizes them. It's actually people like Christopher Rufo in the Republican establishment telling people that vote Republican that they are the victims of racism, which they just really love to hear because they've been called racist for a really long time because, well, they're racist. And somebody coming to them and saying, no, you're not racist. You're the victim of racism. Let me tell you about this boogeyman called CRT. And since you don't know anything about it, you're just going to believe everything I say about it. So yeah, let me tell you this really great fictional story. And then the people that vote Republican have turned into Plato. And they've let Ron DeSantis do this, make their teacher crisis worse, which destroys their school, drive out the administrators, drive out the people in the school boards that have all made Florida schools top performing in the country, run them out. But still, why? I mean, yeah, you've got control of the people now. Why? Why would you do this? Money. These charter schools and all these boondoggles have great tax breaks. And hedge fund billionaires like, Paul Singer loves to invest in these things. Hedge fund billionaires love to invest in charter schools because they get all of these crazy loans that they can pull out, all of these tax loopholes they can dive through to turn for-profit money into free, tax-free money. They love these charter schools for investment vehicles. And that's what it really all boils down to, because when I told you Christopher Rufo was a fellow at the Manhattan Institute, the guy that came up with all this bullshit for DeSantis, well, the chairman of the board of the Manhattan Institute is the hedge fund billionaire Paul Singer. So yeah, you have Wall Street creating propaganda for racists in Florida, allowing Ron DeSantis to destroy the old Republican dream of destroying public schools, to allow Ron DeSantis to destroy their great schools, to push charter schools. It's a win-win for DeSantis. He has this great political wedge issue that keeps his people, for him, fired up because they're the victims of racism, which is idiocy. You could easily Google CRT and know what it really was. And he's got complete control now because it's been politicized. Everything is a political fight. It's not what's good for the kids. It's not just common sense. It's through the lens of politics. And he's not the only one doing it. He is not the only one doing it. You got the governor of Missouri, you got the governor of Indiana, Eric Holcomb. They're both They're both following this script now. Yeah. They are going to do the exact same thing in their states, and it's just spreading like a rash in red states across the country because Republicans really love being told they're the victims of racism. Yeah, folks. That's what we're looking at. Know who your enemy is. Know that it's guys like Paul Singer from Wall Street that's funding all this, is paying for all this. You know, Ron DeSantis has never had an original thought in his life. He's not, he likes, his shtick is to be a pretend tough guy. But hell, even Disney backed him down. You know, as soon as Disney brought Bob Iger back, and Bob Iger is a knife fighter, man. Let me tell you, this guy is tough. Yeah, Ron DeSantis shut up about Disney. So you just got to have a weak-wing governor that you can control who wants you to pump propaganda into their state. And man, these Republican governors are more than willing to destroy their schools. Great job, Republican voters. I have never seen anybody own themselves that hard just so you can tell yourself you're the victim of racism. Way to go.
The best part of waking up? MAGA tears in my cup. Check out the new MAGA tears mug available now at store.MeidasTouch.com. That's store.MeidasTouch.com.